Welcome back to another episode of The Unmasking Effect. Today, we have an incredible guest who embodies resilience, vulnerability, and inspiration in everything he does. Joining us is Stephen A. Hart, a dynamic podcaster, marketing expert, and the founder and host of I Am Black Success, formerly Trailblazers FM. Stephen is an all-around amazing guy with a gift for blending professional excellence with personal authenticity. And I couldn't be more excited to share his conversation with you. In this episode, Stephen opens up about some of the biggest challenges he's faced, juggling the weight of corporate responsibility while navigating health challenges and the emotional complexities of caring for his aging father. We get real about the resentments, the fears, and the inner struggles that can arise in these moments and how Stephen has worked through them with courage and grace. If you've ever faced the pressure of balancing work, family, and self, or if fear has ever stood up in your own way, this conversation is packed with relatable insights and actionable wisdom to help you move forward. Without further ado, let's get into it. Please join me in welcoming Stephen A. Hart to The Unmasking Effect. Again, bro, I really appreciate you showing up today, especially knowing, the physical challenges you're dealing with right now.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man, for sure. So, Stephen, like we discussed earlier, the conversation we're having is very fluid, very flowing, and it's really all about reinventing yourself and like the journey that you've taken from where you started to where you are now. And, just kind of seeing like what are one or two of the main things if you were to look back in your life from as far as you can remember till now, like any major, like my son calls it, the canon event. Like anything that you could think of that came up for you and you had to go through a process of cleaning, clearing, reinventing, and basically creating this life that you wanted to create. Like, is there anything that comes up for you?
It's a very interesting question because I'd tell you that I didn't have, I look at the journey as a husband and I look at my wife's journey growing up in the same house from she's a year old. Her parents still have the same house today. My kids having that consistency. I grew up in a home where by 6, 7 years old, my parents split and I was moving from home to home. I don't think I ever lived in a single home for longer than 4 years before I purchased this house, which we've been in for 12. So I didn't have stability in where I was anchored. And a lot was always fluid growing up from being in Jamaica. Even through that divorce, my dad migrated to the US. I went to school in Jamaica, but almost every holiday I was in Florida. And so when you ask that question, I think the consistent theme is that I was always pivoting at some point through the personal journey. And then even moving to Florida, I was just supposed to come to Florida for a summer break, Ike.
Yeah.
And in the summer, an uncle of mine, and I say uncle, one of my dad's good friends, dear friends, who is a dean at a community college, said, come spend a couple days with me, and realized I was up to no good going back to Jamaica, and said, no, stay here. And that was how I migrated. Finishing community college, everything said stay in Miami. Picked up and moved to Tampa. And that has been a cycle through my life, through my career. Thinking about setbacks, Ike, and this conversation, my biggest financial setback was losing several $1 million in a business I was running 3 weeks into my marriage back in 2008. And then several months after, in 2009, having all the real estate I owned go 60% to the negative.
Mm.
And so in the space of a year, going from a 7-figure net worth to a 6-figure debt in a new marriage of a year. That, though, was the biggest financial setback. The setback I think has been on my heart to talk about today is one that started in December 2019, and I think I'm still on the journey today. So over the past 5 years, I've had to navigate a journey that began with my dad suffering the first of 2 strokes in a year. Leading up to that stroke, Ike, my dad is a creative, and I tell you that's what poured into me in a different way. For him, it came through his talent for being a chef, being a creative. He's a painter, he's a writer, florist, a designer, all the creative elements, right? He could put his hands to anything and produce something amazing. But poor businessman and business owner. Successfully ran a business, though, managed to keep the doors open for almost 40 years. But with his stroke happening right before the pandemic started, myself and my family found ourselves trying to keep the doors open to a business in debt in a global pandemic in a third world country. And then what was even worse, navigating creditors in Jamaica during that time, and employees and just the challenges of dealing with the laws, which I left Jamaica when I was 16. I don't know Jamaica as an adult. Were really stressful. Took a toll on me physically, mentally. I battled through a lot of depression and anxiety in that season, and it took me out. It took out my podcast. And if not for the right things happening at the right time, probably could have taken out my marriage and relationship, with my kids.
Gotcha. So what do you think was the main thing or things that was happening during that time that triggered you or connected to you on that depth the most, that created the most hurt or pain or anxiety or depression?
Yeah.
Was it the
there was
stroke of your dad, or was it?
So there are a couple of things, and that is something that I think about quite a bit. Leading up to his first stroke, I was going at 120 miles an hour all the time, hustle and grind mindset. I had no margins. I didn't have any space for things to break. At the same time, I'd been in my dad's ear for almost a decade, trying to get him to slowly transition from service-based business to a product. More specifically, Ike, Jamaica has sent him all over the world to represent Jamaica. He's a very talented person. And for those that are listening to us that maybe are not Jamaican, Jamaica has one of our staples, a Jamaican Christmas rum cake. Not your traditional, fluffy white cake, right? His ability to make a rum cake was out of this world. And I fought with him tooth and nail, right, to get a recipe for this thing. And it became an obsession to try and get it out of him. And I got to the summer of 2019, and we had a big fight, right? And I was like, this is, your potential legacy play. You're going to let, the best get you and not have this come together. And we fought about it. And by about August, September, he was like, what do you need? Right? My sister sister spoke to him and we got on the same page. And Ike, a month before his stroke, he passed through literally 24-hour visit to me here in Maryland. And he's like, I've been experimenting with it. It's coming together. I mean, some of the things he was telling me, never heard of. Putting in a rum cake before, just knew this thing was coming together. And one mind in me, on my way to dropping him back to the airport, I was like, I should just have him just write down what he can right now for this recipe. And I didn't. And sure enough, 3-4 days before he had the stroke, I literally sat down with a boss of mine at my last work event. And I said, hey, once we get through the holidays, I'm going to Jamaica to go get this recipe out to my dad. Because I just feel like he's also pushing up against potentially having, an episode, something happening. I could feel it. And 4 days before Christmas, I get a call at 6:00 in the morning. And it's like, suffered a stroke. And that just took me, mentally, it was like a big setback to realize like, hey, this hope, this goal, this legacy in your mind, right, was likely not going to come through. And it passed. And then the other side of it, Ike, because he was in debt in his business, and I should say this too. When I went through the challenge I did in 2008, I came out the other side of that, promising myself I'd never be in debt ever again to anybody. Because that took me out. And I, thankfully, my wife and I, we've been blessed to be able to come to a place where we don't have debt. We save aggressively. We take care of, just thinking about the future we want to have. So we get to this place where I have creditors and I have people calling me, threatening life, threatening family for money. Jamaica's a different place, right? Don't play with me. Keep my money. That took me out, man. And I started to see episodes of where my blood pressure would go through the roof. I didn't even know what anxiety. I didn't know I was having a panic attack. There were times where I thought I was having like a heart attack. Feel my heart racing, driving in the car. And started having panic attacks, dealing with anxiety, dealing with depression. The blessing, Ike, in all of that. I came back from Jamaica after the first stroke, Brethren, and my wife looked at me. She said, hey, I have 2 appointments for you this week. One's to go see your primary, and one's to go talk to somebody. And Ike, the black man, the Caribbean mindset, talk to somebody, anything wrong with me? It's like arguing with her about, she said, look, insurance covers you seeing a therapist. Go talk to somebody. If you don't need it, you can stop. And hands down, it's probably the one thing that saved me from going over the edge in that season. And helps me so much.
Yeah. I can visualize and understand what you were going through. Especially seeing the ability and the talent. And as you're talking, like the first thing that like pops up in my mind is, like they say, the graveyard is the keeper of most wealth and like dead dreams that a lot of people didn't follow through on, that just went. And I think, even just thinking back on my father, and even just not even my dad, but the lineages of men in that line, there's just this fear of just following through.
Yeah.
To like look past themselves and seeing 3-4 generations ahead,
Mm-hmm.
And I think each generation has someone like you or me that comes in that says there's a bigger picture here and we got to figure it out. And if no one kind of sees it and aligns with it, it becomes a fight.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand that challenge and wanting to create that bridge of this is something that we have as a gift as a family coming through you, and we can do something with this that can change our lives forever.
Yeah.
You know, thinking about the Marleys and people from
Right.
our yeah. So I understand, man, and I can see how that could instill some level of frustration to figure out to get past that. So as you went through this process with your dad and everything that was going on financially and with the family and with yourself, um, did you find at any point you were questioning your own mortality? Seeing this man that you saw as super dad, most of us do, that would never ever get sick or never get weak, and seeing them get to a point where you're actually seeing yourself. Did you experience that?
100% even to now, right? Because he great. I'm grateful he's still with us 5 years after, almost 5 years now, and but he's still battling quite a bit uh, physically. And when I go through those rounds, I spent time with him this summer, visiting several doctors, and I realized that hey, he's only 25 years older than me.
Hmm.
I don't have that much time, right, before I'm at his point in life, and all the health challenges. Um, man, I've come away this summer like thinking, man, I'm eating salads the rest of my journey here, right? I mean, between the diabetes and the heart challenges and
Mm,
all the list of the things, and look, it's not a smooth journey for me right now either. I'm at a place where I'm in the the heights of upper management on the outskirts of executive leadership, and that's taxing right now on me mentally, physically. I experience burnout. Um, the weight of stress is one that I have to be very deliberate about managing day to day. And so when I think about what I'm doing, right, even though I've beg begun to be more thoughtful and deliberate about my diet, about my exercise, about mindset, and how I approach the day to day. Um, my actions still are at risk of putting me in this area, right, where you have the blood pressure and other things that fuel the heart issues, right? So um, yeah, I
yeah.
think about that constantly. um,
So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think I would say as men or as human beings, but I can just speak about our experience as men. It's probably a little bit different. Um, Taking in account cultural background, family dynamics, like all of it, right? Um, how do you manage, or when you think about everything that you're carrying, how do you go through each day dealing with those things?
yeah.
Again, we got the family, we have the kids, the wife, work, the challenges and the pressures from there. Um, we have the challenges of the family with the parents, or even with just
All of
our
it.
mindset, like all of it. Like we're grateful for everything, but it's still tough, right?
Yeah.
How do you manage on a day-to-day basis dealing with so many different weights, so to speak, that you feel proverbially is on your shoulder?
That's that right there. Uh, in the middle of 2020, there are times where I was on my back, literally can't get up. I'm paralyzed by the weight on the shoulders with everything weighing you down. And going through conversations, family and closest of your friends would say, don't worry, just take it finish the rest, take it one
day at a time.
One day at a time. Ike, one day feel like a mountain sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
One day, I can't even think about all the things that you just touched on I have to go deal with today. And so I developed a mantra, simple mantra, and it says one successful step at a time, right? Each day I would get up, and when I would feel paralyzed, I'd encourage myself, just do one thing right now. Don't worry about the whole day. Just focus on one step. One step.
And you can imagine that one step probably feels like 50 with the one.
And you know what? Once you get that one step in, not every day. Sometimes you take that one step and you go back and lay down. Right? Some days are like that.
Yeah.
But often, what would happen? You take one step, and you take another, and then you get some measure of momentum, not moving at the pace you were before, but you're moving. And the step is important too. When I started talking to my therapist about anxiety, she said, Stephen, anxiety is simply you projecting a future what-if scenario. Often is the case that it's the worst possible scenario that could play out into your present. And she said, get outside and go walk. Go touch a tree. If you are in the present, anxiety can't coexist with that present moment. And there are many other tools and tactics she shared, but the one that's resonated with me is walking. And so I would put my kids on a bus in the mornings. Starting last August, I was at my worst point health-wise. Heaviest weight, BP through the roof. And doctors were like, hey, I need you to go see a cardiologist, July of last year. And I'm like, so what do I do in the gap? They're like, nothing. You have to wait for the cardiologist. Can't see a cardiologist for 3 months. And I'm thinking, I'm going to drop out, right? Talking about that mortality.
Yeah, of course.
And I was like, well, I'm going to control what I can. So every morning, right here, I put my kids on the bus. And I don't come back in the house, go and walk. Started taking care of the anxiety issues. Immediately, I'd walk 2-3 miles in the morning. Just walk. Begin to release that tension, that stress. But guess what? It's also intermittent fasting and walking in the space of about between the beginning of August and October of last year. I lost almost 35 pounds.
Wow.
And mentally, moved into a different place.
Yeah. What were you thinking while you were moving, while you were walking? What were you doing during that time?
Gratitude practice, prayer. A lot of times, I'm either consuming good content. I hear you gave a Les Brown reference earlier to the graveyard. I'm a big fan of the old school wisdom of your Jim Rohn, your Les Browns, and then also just consuming, good content via books, audiobooks, good podcasts. I'm a consumer, not just a creator. And I would try not to have my head in a text message or in the phone. If I'm using the phone, it's to change a podcast or a book on tape. I'll put that thing away. And then there's some times where I just put it in my back pocket and walk, right? And actually take in what's around me. The whole idea of walking is to be in the present. So those are some of the things that would happen throughout the course of a 2-3 mile walk.
Yeah. So do you feel like the heaviness or the challenge in life ever goes away fully? Do you feel like everything is just sunshine and butterflies, or do you feel like the work is to get to understand how to carry the weight? Because as humans, we're going to experience the weight.
I think there's always something. There's always something coming at you, right? And life is like that. There's no, you just ride off into the sunset and you never have another problem. And so I think it's the latter that you mentioned. And the goal for me, right, is to remain purpose driven in what I do. Being very clear about what I put my focus, energy, and time into. I'm gonna share a concept with you that also came through therapy. I would give 110%. Like I said, I was going 120 miles an hour pre-COVID. It's the way I'm wired. I want everything to happen, right? And I'm going. And I don't know when to pull back the time and energy and the focus from anything. Everybody gets the same measure of all of it. And so when I had to pause, I had nothing left for me. Fell out. And in the season of having to navigate not even my own problems, the challenges of winding up my dad's challenges, I was giving everybody the same focus, energy, and time, including the people that I should be giving the most to. And talking through an exercise, someone said, hey, picture a dartboard for me for a second. The bullseye on a dartboard is that smallest area in the center of it. Who in your circle, in your world, should get the most focus, energy, and time? What are the things and the people who, and it's not going to be a lot, right? So for me, it's God, it's my wife, it's my picnic them, right? And me. That's it. That's the bullseye.
Mm-hmm.
Each layer out from the bullseye gets less and less of your focus, your energy, and your time. And here's the best part of that wisdom, Ike. Not everybody hits the dartboard. So you have to mentally start to process, hey, when this thing is coming at me, this toxic coworker or boss, this family member who's driving me crazy, this thing out here that's going to take me down, does it deserve any of your focus, energy, or time? If not, you need to put the blinders on and keep it moving. Keep the focus on who the focus needs to be on.
And what too.
And what? Very important.
Yeah. Because even as you're saying that, there's polarities with everything. There's the perceived not good things, which is the chaos, the distraction. But on the other side, there's the shiny objects, the things that are like, yeah, this could make a big breaker in whatever way. So it's still the same process. It's not on the dartboard. It's still focusing on the who and the what and the whys.
100%.
Yeah. That's powerful, man. Thanks for sharing that.
Well, Steph, I'll be sure to share a graphic I actually created for that with you.
Oh,
that's real powerful.
Yeah. Insert here.
Yeah.
For sure. What do you think is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
other people's opinions of you, of your work, are none of your damn business, right? It won't define you, and it shouldn't lessen your value. Your value are the things that you value.
Why do you think that's important for you?
Man, it helped me clear a season just recently. As creators, you and I are creators. We think up these ideas and we bring our vision to life. And in the corporate environment, I did an amazing job of doing just that about a year and a half ago. And it didn't align with the corporate vision. And it took me time to process that same quote, right? That helped me kind of get to a place where I could clearly separate the value that I created and the meaning of this thing, this creation, this asset, separate that from other people's thoughts around what they wanted and how they viewed that piece, right? But them, it was, hey, why is this thing not driving revenue? It was never the intent of the thing, right? That thing was intended to create value for the brand, and so it took a while.
As an entrepreneur, everything still comes back to ROI, right?
It comes back to ROI.
You're like branding, well, yeah, it doesn't convert into dollars and cents until you get it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but brand awareness is so important, right?
Absolutely.
That visibility is key.
Yeah.
So they couldn't get visibility and awareness, and eventually got to a place where I was like, hey, you know what? You can have your opinion, and it's your business to run, and I can respect it. And at the same time, two things can be true, right? It also means that I didn't create something that was bad. In fact, deliberately, I attended Podcast Movement a couple months ago and delivered a case study on the creation, this thing that I created that they wanted to sunset, and I had a half dozen video agencies approaching me after about it, and so it had value. It just wasn't the right piece for the people I created it for.
Gotcha. Who did you create it for? Was it for management, shareholders, or was it for consumers?
No, this was truly for us being able. So my belief is that, especially now, as we look forward, we create these businesses, and especially in the case of like a professional services firm or training firms, the expertise within that business is truly valuable, right? So you as Ike, right, within your brand, within your business, Ike has value. Your personal brand has value, right? You have an expertise that people want to tap into. And it's great to market your business, but it's also great if we can get Ike to share his expertise with the audience that he's trying to serve. The idea of personal branding is marrying your reputation and expertise to the action of gaining visibility. The more visibility you gain, the more your perceived value and personal brand.
Absolutely.
And so the idea for me with the content I create is, how do I bring value to the community, to the audience we're looking to serve, while at the same time elevating the visibility of the experts within our business, understanding that as I elevate their personal brand, there's a halo effect that will follow and assist our business.
Mm-hmm.
And so all three things are, there's a win-win-win scenario happening where we're serving up value. We're not just promoting buy. We're remaining top of mind. We're providing value to our community that we know at some point will, when ready to purchase, we're going to be the first person they think of. We're helping our experts gain visibility and move from somebody that was just known in the four corners of their employer or business to now having global impact. And we're helping that business achieve their business goals over time.
Yeah. So some of those are clear KPIs or clear objectives.
It is. And it is a long, for me, I believe that you have short-term initiatives in content marketing. A big portion of content marketing is a long tail play.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I've been able to show that in podcasting, what's happened over like 4 years, 5 years.
Yeah. So one of the things that I hear you say is consistency.
It is
paramount. That's key.
It is key.
Yeah. So what do you think is, like, I hear some of the things that we've discussed so far around, the parents, the work, the family, personal self. Like, what do you say is one or two things that you've learned about yourself?
In this journey? So I think I shared this on social, maybe even last week. It was told to me by a good friend, Karen Allen, everything is for your good or for your growth. With all that I shared, as I was going through this challenging personal valley season, it forced me to park my podcast, of which you've been a guest, with Trailblazers and went 4.5 years publishing an episode every Monday morning at 5 a.m. never, without fail. And my dad's first stroke paused it. Went off for 8 months, offline for 8 months, came back to it in the fall. By Christmas of the next year, my dad had another stroke. And I was like, you know what? And now he's with me. He wasn't in Jamaica anymore. Literally 10 feet from me on the other side of this camera, recovering from a stroke. And I realized I couldn't do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And while I made the decision to pause on the podcast, I said, I still love creating. Could I turn this camera on and just have conversations over a live stream? Live stream was just taking off at the time. And I could turn on this camera. Room is dark. Key lights right here. So the other side of the room, my dad's in a bed, sleeping. Turn on the camera, 8 o'clock every morning. Kids are gone. Turn on live. And man, I was bad. I was so bad. When I started, I went through probably even into the 3rd or 4th week of doing lives. Somebody would pop in like 3 minutes in and say, I don't know if it's my end, but I'm not hearing anything you're saying. And I look down and I sit in mute, and it's like, you know what? Let me just turn this down. And I, in that season, another thing that came up, I said, you know what? I'm gonna be okay with it being bad until it gets good. And that's a word for everyone listening, right? We don't start off being good. You have to be okay, be comfortable with being bad until things get good. And good they did, because I said to my close circle of friends, I said, watch me. I'm going to keep hitting play, keep hitting go live till LinkedIn sees me. That was 2021, beginning of 2021. My employer saw what I was doing. Was like, can you do that for us too? I did probably 400 lives in 2021 between personal and business. And people started calling me the live stream machine. And don't you know, the end of the year came and LinkedIn accepted me as one of the first 100 people into their very first LinkedIn Creator Accelerator program. Paid me 25 grand, poured into me for 10 weeks, and positioned me as somebody on LinkedIn who you need to know. And it all came right after saying, you know what, I'm going to keep hitting go live.
Consistency, man.
Exactly that.
Imperfect consistency.
Yeah.
Just being consistent, bad till it gets good. Following through. That's powerful, man. Like, all of these are sound bites, bro. Like, yeah, really. That's good stuff, man. I think one of the things, again, things happen, but I think we're all just getting prepared for the next thing always.
Yeah.
And it's, I guess, 80% of winning is just showing up. So congrats, man. And that just speaks volume of who you are. And,
I heard it said this morning on my drive. I dropped off my son this morning, and I heard Kenny the Jet say something to the effect of, a champion isn't somebody who does something extraordinary. It's just somebody who keeps taking the shots, right? Keep showing up, to your point of consistency. And he says, the champion isn't extraordinary. The champion is somebody who does the ordinary extra. Right? They just keep doing it every single day. Doing it. Keep taking bats, right?
Yeah. So with that, though, what would you say to someone that's watching right now or listening, and they're in the middle of their own personal hurricane and in that deep, dark place of anxiety, fear, frustration, like you name it, and they're listening right now? Like, what piece of advice would you give them based on just your awareness and your own journey?
As a believer, Philippians 4, 6 to go through like 8 or 9 is important, right? To me, do not worry about anything, pray about everything. Ask God for what you need and just, trust, right? And that actually, I believe 8 speaks to exactly what the fear and the worry and the anxiety parts too. What I touched on earlier is important. Take it one successful step at a time. Just take one step. If you're in the heights of anxiety and depression, consider talking to someone. Consider therapy. I think just as we would prioritize going to see a doctor about our health, a therapist is just the same, right? They're just helping you to organize your thoughts, to provide you the right tools to make sure that your mind is functioning as it should. Doesn't mean you're crazy. Doesn't mean anything is wrong with you. And that for me has been a cheat code to be able to frame how I need my mind to be positioned to be able to chase after these goals and dreams. I'm purpose driven in the things I do. I'm a big believer in having a very clear vision for my life. It's what got me up off of the couch in that 8-month hiatus from the podcast, because I had listened to Jim Collins' Good to Great. I'm a big believer in creating your big, hairy, audacious goals. Goals that you can't accomplish just this year. It's going to take you 10. And they're really big. Think about what you want for your life. Plant a destination that you want to get to. And just like if I was to say, you know what, I'm going to drive from Maryland to come check you in Palm Beach. When I put your address in Google Maps, it might tell me right now it's going to take me 17 hours to get down to you. And somewhere in this journey, I don't know where, Ike, somewhere in 95, what going to happen? You're going to hit an accident, right? You're going to hit a detour. If you don't have a clear written document, paper, right? Could be in your note-taking app, could be in your journal. But if you don't get those ideas out of your head and down on paper and have clarity around that destination that you're trying to tell your life that we are moving toward, when you approach that accident, you go to turn around and drive right back home and get stuck doing loops and not getting anywhere in life. So you're going to take one successful step at a time towards a particular destination. And guess what? It might take you 25 hours. You may not get there in 17. But you can get there. Okay? You can get there. So be mindful about the things that you want to accomplish. And when I say goals, I'll end on this. In my season, when I lost in 2008, when I lost my business, my sole goal was to become a millionaire by the time I turned 30. It was purely materialistic. And I achieved the goal for a few months. And I lost everything. And when I lost everything, I had to reframe my mindset then as to what was going to be important. Right? Money will come and go. The things will come and go. What's going to be there? Right? That is going to mean something. That's going to have significance and impact when we are gone. And so give thought to that when you're framing your goals. It's not just about you. It's not just about the house and the car and the money and the things. How will your life matter? How will things be different because you are here? Give thought to that and prioritize that in what you do.
Amazing. Good points. Life-changing perspectives. What's next for you, Stephen? Is there any other reinvention on your horizon right now?
Probably the biggest. The biggest is yet to come. I'm giving birth to something right now as we talk. I can't even articulate it yet, but I will say this. I'm very big on AI. I've been very involved with AI. As you know, I'm a marketer, a marketing leader. And so at the intersect of both, I've been, and especially in working for, in a corporation, I'm able to see kind of what the next 3 to 5 years might bring. It's somewhat scary in some senses, and in other, perspective and view, it could be a big opportunity. But one thing is clear. I think that for those of us who are working professionals, we have to get out of the mindset of putting all our eggs in one basket. I grew up in Jamaica. In country, you see people just put, and cook food on a one-pot coal stove, right? And I think that's what we do as corporate employees, right? We have everything on the one pot. And if that coal go out, right? If you get laid off from your job, you are immediately in a financial unstable place. Why do we invest and diversify? We never put all our retirement savings into one stock, but we do it for our income. And so a big next mission for me right now is to marry all the things that I've been doing and to really create a movement for helping people, helping working professionals begin the process of creating a platform that allows them to build what I call the 5-burner cooktop, right?
Mm.
Where I'm not telling you to quit your 9 to 5. The 9 to 5 becomes what still sits on the big burner. But we can start creating some other burners that you can turn on and off as you want. But it provides you some additional security, some additional legs to the chair. God forbid you're to be laid off. You can turn it on and provide some income to carry through to the other side, and or allows you to save and pay off debt and leave that legacy for the future. So that's the next chapter.
Yeah, that sounds pretty much aligned with who I know you to be as a creator and as someone who is also looking to help and serve others as well. So hats off to you, man.
Appreciate you, Bridget. Great conversation, man.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you being on here today, man. And, like I said, when I thought about you as a guest, I know there's so much wisdom and life experience that you would be able to share and other people will be able to get from it, and we all get from it. So we still got to chop wood and carry water, but we still have to serve others in the process as well. So I think we share that journey in common.
100%.
Yeah, man. But I appreciate you being on, brother.
I'm grateful. This was a good conversation. Always helps sometimes when you listen to yourself talk to. Helps you to put some things in perspective. I brought up some things today I hadn't thought about in a while. So it was good for me to kind of hear some of it.
Well, speaking of that, though, if you got a few more minutes, I just wanted to ask you, if you were to have a conversation with the 7-year-old version of Stephen, what's one piece of advice? What's one message you would give him, whisper into his ear?
Get that recipe from Dad now.
Okay. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Get the recipe. Because it's going to take a lifetime to get it. So start now, right? Okay, gotcha. Clear.
You couldn't script that one.
Not at all. And on that same tip, if you were to ask one question from the 9 to 5-year-old version of Stephen, who's been through this journey and gotten to a place of understanding, learning, integration, wisdom, what's one question you would ask him?
What skills or talents that you've developed are transferable to other things you could do? And by that, it took me a while to start thinking about this. And I want everybody listening to the sound of my voice to start thinking about this right now. Um, we dismiss the things we do day to day that we know to do. So I know to create a podcast. It's intuitive to me. I could do it in my sleep. And I dismiss all the different things that we must do to create a podcast. For somebody brand new that's never created a podcast before, to them, the idea of dealing with a Buzzsprout or a Libsyn is like, I have no idea. I just dismiss it as something I know to do. I don't look at it as a skill and a talent and something I know. There is value in asking yourself, what inventory of skills, talents, knowledge do I have that others would find value in? Because those are the things that provide you an opportunity to frame in a different way and generate additional income beyond your 9 to 5.
Mm. So you would ask your 95-year-old version, what talents and gifts has he created?
95-year-old Stephen.
Yes.
I was thinking of 9 to 5. 95-year-old Stephen. Ooh, Ike. I imagine I'm going to get to 95 and look back, and I'm going to ask the question of all the things, what really mattered the most, right? Because I feel like you're going to cut away 99% of fluff, and it's going to come clear to you what impact, what significance, what mattered the most in the time that you had. And it's often the thing that, you hear older people reference to. And I'm pretty sure that I'm going to find myself there. And the way I position my vision statement and my goals, it's with that view in mind, right? It's saying, all right, when I get to this place, when I get to maybe not 95, when I get to 70, and I'm sitting on a beach in the grill drinking a Red Stripe, and I'm looking back, what would I have wanted my life to have checked the box on? And then building goals off of that.
Mm. So if he was listening, what's one advice you would ask? What's one question you would ask?
It's so simple, but it simply comes back to what really matters, right? Because today I'm caught up in having to work, to provide for the private school, to do the thing for the employer. And you look at, all the things that we stress out about right now. 100 years from now, we're going to be in a graveyard, right? And what will have really mattered the most in your lifetime that somebody 100 years from now can benefit from? What really matters? What can I impart to my kids that they're going to impart to their grandkids?
So what would he say to you?
The answer? I don't know, Ike. It's still to be, I feel like I'm still in that journey right now. It's a bet on, continuing to pour into my kids. It's not even the work side of things. Continue to invest in those two people that you helped create.
So I
do
think
everything you can to pour into them.
Yeah. So it still comes back to the bullseye. And
it does. It 100% does on both sides, right?
Yeah.
on both sides.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because I mean, everything we're doing for our kids. We're doing for the next. If you don't have kids, you're still doing it for the next generation, right?
Mm-hmm. Awesome, man.
Trailblazers was for them.
Awesome.
That's a powerful question. You know, you harassed me with that thought. Now that's something
bro.
I'm going to have. I'm not on the pod to talk about that.
That's what it's about, brother. It's still a part of the clear, ultimate true north.
It is.
And if we can align with that highest, older person, which is still an energy of us that's been through all of this and have a relationship, I find for myself, it's one of my mentors. And when I connect with Solomon, that 95-year-old version, I get so much clarity because he's done it all, you know. So it just helps with where I am at currently in my journey, and knowing that, you know, he understands me better than anyone, and he's just a part of my network as well. That helps with the direction. Obviously, God and family and everyone else is a part of that too. So that's always interesting to hear people's connection with a future version of themselves, which is why I asked the question.
You know, you just put 95-year-old Steven in the circle, in the bullseye.
There you go.
That's awesome, that's such a gem right there. I appreciate that.
Of course, man. But I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for being on with me today. And, you know, I'm looking forward to having people hear your voice, your perspectives, and understand the value of consistency and following through. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
What an amazing conversation with Steven. His honesty about navigating the pressures of corporate life, health challenges, and the emotional complexities of caring for his father was truly inspiring. Steven's courage to confront fear, resentment, and adversity head-on reminded us all that even in our toughest moments, there's an opportunity for growth, healing, and transformation. Steven, thank you for sharing your heart, your wisdom, and your journey with us. You've given us so much to reflect on and so many powerful lessons to carry forward. Be sure to share it with someone who might need these insights right now. Let's keep the ripple of inspiration going. I want to remind you about the Unmasking Effect membership community. This is where the magic happens between episodes. A space for deeper connection, exclusive resources, and live events designed to help you take the lessons from these conversations we're having and turn them into action in your own life. To learn more, you can head to theunmaskingeffect.com. We'd love to have you a part of this growing community of seekers and changemakers. Thank you for tuning in, for being part of this journey, and for showing up for yourself today. Keep unmasking, keep growing, and keep believing in what's possible. I'll see you next week for another transformative episode of The Unmasking Effect. Peace.